Hello again, Year 8. It's Mr. Sun here, and I'm going to be continuing with our second lesson this week, looking at the life cycle of a t-shirt. Now, you should understand what a life cycle actually is, because the last lesson we went over it, and basically you should have been able to look at your own product, which you found around the home, and analysed its life cycle. And for those that forgot about life cycle, we use the mobile phone as an example, which is something which is very intense because it uses a lot of energy in its production and its manufacture and potentially its distribution. Uses a very small amount of energy and doesn't have an environmental impact that much when it's in use, but then when it's going to be recycled, it's very difficult to recycle because it's made of so many complicated bits. Now, we're going to be dealing with something which is a hell of a lot easier, a lot simpler item, and that is a t-shirt. Something which you probably hardly ever think about. You never consider that much. But fashion, and in particular the term fast fashion, that's your kind of Primark, go in, buy a t-shirt for, I don't know, £3 or whatever, and then only wear it a few times. The idea that you're constantly buying that type of thing, maybe not at the moment because COVID, but that's fast fashion. The idea is cheap, it's quick, it's not supposed to last for very long, and we don't really care about it. It can go in the bin. Now, that has quite a big impact on the environment, and we're going to have a little bit of a look at that today. If we have a look at the PowerPoint I've got just in front of me here, which we've been talking about, and I'll go over, there's an impact on the environment of textiles because textiles, clothing in general, has to be manufactured. If we think about that life cycle, the materials have to be extracted or they have to actually be grown. Bearing in mind that natural fibers tend to be grown, things like cotton, silk, they are from a plant, so they are grown. But we have got a lot of things like, this that I'm wearing at the moment is a synthetic fiber, so polyester, maybe with the cotton thrown in, and that's made from crude oil. So just like plastic, it is another form of plastic. So it's made from that crude oil that has to be extracted from the ground. We've got all of these eight up here. Water pollution, for example, because the actual process of creating a garment is quite water intensive. So creating just one t-shirt uses a lot of water. And that goes into the water pollution. So you could have some of the chemicals that are used. For example, a white t-shirt, the actual cotton or that is used to make that cotton t-shirt has to be bleached. Natural cotton is not naturally white. It's actually kind of an off colour, like a creamy colour, because it's a natural fibre. So therefore it has to be bleached, it has to use chemicals, and they can end up in the water and cause water pollution. The water consumption, the washing, the creation of the fabrics takes a lot of water consumption. And then in its life, the t-shirt, every time you're washing something, especially if you don't use a full load in the washing machine, some of you may even actually use the washing machine, then that uses a lot of water. There's microfibers in the oceans. We think back to the previous lessons where we talked about the microplastics, things like from these types of bottles and stuff, and the fact that this ends up in the ocean. It gets broken down into little tiny little bits of plastic. Well, there's microfibers because when we wash our clothes, little tiny bits of plastic, in effect, the fibers can go off into the oceans and then end up in fish who we then eat. There's the waste accumulation. So there's not only when it's finished, what do we do with all that clothing? How is it recycled? What happens to it? Does it end up being in a landfill? Chemicals as well that are used. Greenhouse gases, because there is a hell of a lot of intensive electricity that is needed to wash clothes, to dry clothes, to manufacture them, to transport them, to do everything with them. So the fact that t-shirt actually is quite a valuable resource, and we don't really give it really the amount of thought that we probably should do. Soil degradation and desiccation, which basically means where the soils are constantly used far too much and all the nutrients are taken out. So with cotton plantations, where there's great swathes of, say, rainforest are turned into cotton growing plantations instead of it being the natural habitat that would have been there. And that rainforest destruction continues quite a lot. Now, there's some quite scary facts here about an average t-shirt, the environmental impact. You can see here, Reusing 1 pound of cotton prevents the emission of more than 7 pounds of carbon dioxide, and 7 pounds of carbon dioxide is a hell of a lot. So if you use just 1 pound of clothing, if you carry on using those t-shirts and don't just throw them away and don't just get rid of them, then you are helping to cut down on that environmental impact of all that electricity and the carbon that's produced. This is one of the things that I think is one of the most shocking. Over 700 gallons of water, enough to fill 22 bathtubs, it's a lot of baths, are used to manufacture one single cotton t-shirt. So this doesn't take into account it being washed and its use. That is the impact of it. Just 700 gallons for one t-shirt. That's a lot of water that is needed to produce just one t-shirt. 1/3 of a pound of pesticides and herbicides are used to grow the cotton used in just one t-shirt. There's quite a lot in the news if you look about how, and this is unfortunate really, and it's very disappointing that now that we've left the European Union, we have suddenly decided to use a pesticide, or allow a pesticide in this country, that has been shown to kill bees. And bees are such an important insect. Not only are they very nice to look at, but they also pollinate a lot of our plants. So the fact that we're killing off these bees at such a rate and we're allowing this chemical to be used is terrible. And pesticides have a real big knock-on effect to the environment and the natural environment and animals. According to the World Bank, 17 to 20% of industrial water pollution is due to textile dyeing and treatment. When you dye a t-shirt that uses chemicals to dye it, and those chemicals, if not carefully treated, that water with added chemicals ends up into, the environment. I mean, you can see here, this image just at the bottom here is quite shocking, this purple dye that is obviously in this river, and that will kill loads and loads of the insects, fish, plants, and any other wildlife that is in that river or close to it. One bale of cotton, that's 500 pounds, is enough to produce 1,217 men's t-shirts. So there's that's quite a good thing. You can get quite a lot of t-shirts out of one bale, but it needs a lot of processing. If all 300 million Americans reused just one t-shirt, we'd save 210 billion gallons of water and 1 million pounds of CO2. So there's a lot of people that are converting to driving electric cars, but maybe actually just reusing a t-shirt and not just throwing it away really quickly. Maybe you should ask yourself, do you have t-shirts? I know that I tend to look after clothes, and I'm of a generation where we didn't really have the fast fashion. I tend to buy something and I will use it and use it until it basically runs out, or I just can't wear it anymore. It's just had it. And at that point, even then, I might send it to a charity shop, or I might try and put it into one of those things where it can be recycled, because you can recycle cottons and other bits and pieces like that. According to the EPA, 11.1 million tons of textiles are trashed in the US each year. A lot of these are US based facts, because this is where a lot of them come from, but I'm sure it's very similar in this country and Europe in general. So many clothes just end up going in the bin. What do you do with the textiles that you don't want? So this whole idea of making sure that we do something about it is really, really important. And it says that it would take 13 years to drink the water needed to make one t-shirt and a pair of jeans. So you think about that impact. Yes, we need clothes, but do we need to constantly be changing them as much as we do? And, if something doesn't work well, what impact does it have on the environment? We've talked about the life cycle of products in general. Here is a life cycle of a t-shirt, and you can see from harvesting the cotton and polyester. Remember, polyester is made from crude oil. Spinning and weaving of it, using of machines to make the different parts, use of the dyes, then washing it again, all that water coming in, labeling, transportation between countries, packaging up, transportation again, and then it goes into retail stores, marketing campaigns, and then finally this tiny little bit just here, all of this goes towards it just coming to you, and then it reaches you, and it has its life in service, as we call it. You wear it, you wash it, you wear it again, and then eventually what happens to it? After usage, trashed leads to landfill. So again, that ends up in the ground. Could we do it in a better way? So fast fashion is everywhere, but what is the impact on the environment? And this use today and throw away, the idea that you can just go to Primark, pick something up because it's so cheap it doesn't matter, It's the resources behind it, the people as well in other countries having to deal with this. We see the amount of resources used to make a single t-shirt. What are the life cycle steps to make a t-shirt? Well, this is it. So many different ones. Now, for this lesson, what I'd like you to do, obviously you're watching this video, and I want you to watch this video, which is linked. I mentioned and linked, and it does say that there is a video on it. If you've not done this before, the website that I linked to is this one, which really gives all those details. Good to have a read through that. Second largest polluter in the world, which is a big one. But if we go to YouTube, it's the same list of, it's the same playlist that I've had many times, and you will find it dead easily. Search for Mr. Sutton DT if you need to. You just come on to, hold on, let me just bring up my playlists. Still remembering my Christmas playlists. And if you have a look in there, it's all the environmental ones. So you may have to just scroll down a little bit. It's this one that's got these kind of banners on here. And I will link to this individual video. But if you have a look at that, it's got the t-shirt variant is the life cycle of the t-shirt just there. So watch that one. I will make sure that that's added both to show my homework, and it is also at the end of this particular PowerPoint, which will also be in there. I'll stick that just at the end because I haven't done that yet. And what I'm asking you to do is to design a t-shirt to help convince people to be more responsible with fast fashion. You can focus on any of the following areas highlighted in the video. So it could be the amount of water. I think that's one of the big ones, 700 gallons to make this t-shirt. So I want a slogan. Think about the front and the back, because you could have something on the front and something on the back that kind of continues. 700 gallons of water, and on the back used to make this t-shirt. You know, don't throw me away. And things like that. Let's make sure that I spell gallons with a double L as well. And try to add colour. Try to add detail. Try to also add a slogan. Think about it. I mean, you can have a look at some examples out there for, you know, how much. But if we want to try to change people's opinions about t-shirts and clothing in general and stop this fast fashion kind of trend and make people think about what that actually means, then this could be a good way of doing it. And you can see, final slide is that. Oh, and I do actually have both of the YouTube links in there for you, so that you've got both of those. That is going to be for you to actually use those ones. Now, it'll be linked on this one, it'll be linked on the others, so that you can click on those and have a look. But by all means, just go to the playlist if you wish. And I really look forward to seeing what is going to come out from those, see how you do, see what designs, and hopefully we should get some really good ones from you. So thank you very much, Year 8. Really nice to have a chat with you, and thank you for watching the video again. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Keep yourself safe. Take care.